crypto. Timo. If the dumb can stay, yeah, and the blind can see, yeah, yeah. Then it's the #1 drip network, drip stop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go, let's go. Everybody be a drip, drip. 365 for the year, everybody be a drip, drip. 1% a day, everybody drip, drip. 4x BD, wanna find it, this I wanna eat. Hydrate, get rich.
So my goal is to do what I can to immediately stop the inflation of drip, to add a sustainable incentive for adding drip B&B liquidity that, you know, maintain the functionality of DDD and the tax structure of drip, which will be rapidly removing drip out of the supply and still having that demand and still having that reason to use and buy drip, and you know, and make a path for anything, you know, anything coming in the future to allow it to be successful. But you know, I believe just the things that I'm talking about now should be enough. I don't know how long it will take, right? It could take some time, or we could just see an immediate, you know, realization of the impact this will have. But for sure, removing the tokens from supply and creating proper incentives, and stopping inflation, is going to have a major impact on the performance of drip. That's one thing that everybody can be sure of. So what I said is, I mean, what I said is simple, but I could understand without me laying it out with like, man. I'm always so tempted to just be a jerk, right? But I can understand without me laying out with, you know, documentation, and I was gonna say like without me breaking out the crayon.
They trying to throw you off.
Without me, you know, really having, you know, laying it out with documentation, all of that, right? I can understand someone hearing it for the first time, but essentially, what it's going to do is it's going to, right, take any drip that is available for people to claim, right, and it's going to honor that. So that means if you've been in drip and you've been compounding, and if you've been in drip and you've been not withdrawing, you've been letting your claims build up, etc., right? Of course, we want to reward you for that. And we're doing that by completely honoring that, right? That drip that you've been compounding, you're going to be able to withdraw all of that, right? Any drip you have available to claim, that's going to be honored, right? We're doing that by doing one of two things. We will either say, okay, guys, you have a week to compound, right? Or a week to claim. Either way, a week to compound, a week to claim. Now, we are going to set the max withdrawal to 100% of your principal. And what this does is, anybody who's been compounding, right, all of that interest that you've built up, you'll be able to withdraw 100% of that. You'll be able to claim 100% of that. So everybody's principal and everything that anybody has earned and has available to claim or has compounded will be honored. new stakes, brand new stakes that have not gotten up to their principal, because the max withdrawal will be set to 1% of their principal, will be able to withdraw until they get up to their principal, essentially. And what this does is it prevents people from being able to deposit new stakes and earning more than their principal. And the reason why this is important is because either we just completely end the ability for people to deposit into the faucet and say no one new can deposit into the faucet, but everybody that's currently in the faucet can continue to earn, right, up until they hit their 365, right? The issue with that is that DDD breaks. And the issue with that is the, 100 people or the 50 people that went and just created thousands of self-referred wallets yesterday are going to use that to their advantage to try to create massive inflation, basically take advantage of their last chance to make massive inflation, right? Which is not going to be positive for any of the legitimate users of drip, right? So anybody who's been a long-term user of drip, who's been compounding, who's been claiming, who's been letting their principal build up, etc., you will get everything in your principal plus everything that's available to claim at the time we pass this. New stakes, of course, you don't have anything more than your principal available to claim, right? So what will be honored is your principal. This allows for the faucet to continue to function as a mechanism to pay out DDD prizes. Otherwise, we would need to build a whole new thing for DDD to be able to pay out prizes, and we'd have to make a bunch of changes to the faucet to be able to make that still work without people being able to deposit into it. So it's the best compromise. It's a compromise that allows for DDDs to still work. It allows for everybody to have their principal honored, plus anything above their principal that they've earned up until the point that we make the change. It immediately ends the ability for people to create new inflation for drip. DDD still works, so DDD doesn't skip a beat, right? People could still be buying tickets for DDD. Of course, it only really makes sense to sacrifice, right? So we'll probably just remove the deposit button when it comes to buying tickets. But now it becomes, now you sacrifice and now it becomes even more of an incentive to buy tickets with BNB and BUSD, right? Because you're getting that bonus, and you're getting a bonus in a deflationary asset, right? We're increasing the threshold that you would need to earn a referral bonus all the way up to over the total supply of BREIT, which means that there's no more referral bonuses in the faucet, so no more self-referring the faucet. Of course, you can still refer people in purchasing tickets, right? DDD tickets. So there's still that referring mechanism, which is great for DDD, but that's not manipulatable, right? And I mean, it's the optimal choice, right? Because it hits all of the notes, right? What will have the highest performance on drip? and it is absolutely ending the emissions or ending the inflations immediately. So this does that, right? This is the most effective in increasing the performance of drip. Still allows DDD to work. Can be done now because it doesn't require the development of any new contracts. Honors people's principal plus anything that they've earned up until that point, which is important because not only does it honor people's principles, first and foremost, it's honoring the people who have not sold, who have not been claiming, who have been building up their position. Because if you've been compounding, that means your principal is higher, and we are honoring 100% of your principal, plus whatever is available to claim. And solves the liquidity problem. What happens to the drip USD liquidity when we remove it from Animal Farm? Well, that will be replaced with a contract that pays out a fixed emission rate, which is supported through the tax associated with drip, but is always sustainable even if there's no taxes in the drip vault. But instead of minting at an exponential uncapped rate, it's capped at a rate of 15-20% inflation rate a year. And because there's no ability to create new inflation, and because it becomes massively deflationary, there will be plenty of tax in the tax vault. And that 15-20% inflation rate to support the APY just becomes a fail-safe to ensure no matter what happens, there will always be that small incentive to create drip B&B liquidity. But when I say small incentive, I mean relatively small APY, but a relatively small APY is fine if the token price is appreciating, right? Because then you're being paid a little extra to provide liquidity or to lock up an appreciating deflationary asset, which is really how you want that model to work, right? Which the faucet is kind of the inverse. The faucet is like, we're going to pay you a very high APY, but in a depreciating asset, right? This is the opposite. This is, we're going to pay you a relatively small APY, but in a appreciating deflationary asset. So you want to be holding the asset anyways, right? You want to be holding and locking it up anyways, and we're going to give you a little extra for doing it in this contract. So that's it, guys.
Crypto, Timo, if the dumb can stay, yeah, and the blind can see, yeah, yeah. Then it's the #1 drip network, drip stop, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go, let's go. Everybody be a drip, drip. 365 for the year, everybody be a drip, drip. 1% a day, everybody drip, drip. 4x PD, wanna find it, this I wanna eat, hydrate, get rich, rich.